5 people are continuing to be questioned by police over an alleged terror plot. 4 Iranians were arrested among those 5, and they were thought to be targeting a specific premises.
What if I told you that as you were going about your daily life this weekend, British authorities were racing against time to prevent what they've described as an imminent terror attack on UK soil? 8 men, mostly Iranian nationals, were arrested in coordinated raids across London, Manchester and Swindon. 5 were suspected of planning the attack, while 3 others were detained in a related operation, all under the new National Security Act targeting foreign state threats. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video.
Try and make sense of what's happened here. Thank you, Philip, for joining me. I mean, the way this is being talked about, it sounds as if it's a state-level threat, a threat that may have been sponsored by Iran. They were arrested in Swindon, West London, Stockport, Rochdale, Manchester. And we've got Philip Ingram on the line now, who's a former British Army intelligence officer and an expert on international security. The
target was selected. The plans were finalised. The attack was hours from execution. This wasn't some half-baked scheme or early-stage plot. British counter-terrorism officials have confirmed we're talking about an operation in its advanced stage that was imminent. The clock was ticking and security services were racing against time. What we know so far points to a sophisticated, coordinated effort spanning multiple cities. The arrests didn't happen in isolation. They formed part of a carefully orchestrated counter-terror operation across London, Manchester and Swindon.
Security services and counter-terror police is that nothing happens. And we've been quite fortunate that, although there have been, and this is probably the 44th attack, 44 attacks stopped since 2017. Oh, very much so. And the head of MI5 came out and talked about the increase in the state-level threats that there are against the UK. And for the public out there, the measurement of success for our intelligence services.
British security services apprehended 8 individuals, most holding Iranian nationality, in simultaneous raids. 5 of these suspects were directly linked to the planned attack, while 3 others were arrested in what authorities describe as a separate but related operation. These weren't random arrests based on vague suspicions. Security officials had developed specific intelligence about an attack in the final stages of preparation. The fact that authorities acted when they did suggests they felt they couldn't wait any longer without risking catastrophic consequences. Yet curiously, they've maintained tight secrecy around what exactly the target was going to be. The geographic spread of the arrests reveals something about the network behind this plot. A 29-year-old man was taken into custody in Swindon, a 46-year-old in West London, another 29-year-old near Stockport, a 40-year-old in Rochdale, and another individual somewhere in the Manchester area. This distribution across the country indicates a level of organisation beyond what we typically see in lone wolf scenarios. Perhaps most telling is the legal framework used for these arrests. Authorities invoked the National Security Act, relatively new legislation specifically crafted to address threats from foreign states, rather than the terrorism laws we've grown accustomed to seeing cited in such cases. This choice signals that officials believe they're dealing with state-backed terrorism rather than independent extremists. Home Secretary Cooper didn't mince words when she described these as some of the biggest counter-state threats and counter-terrorism operations in recent years. That statement alone should raise eyebrows. Not significant or serious, but some of the biggest. When a Home Secretary uses that language, it suggests a threat level that extends beyond the typical terrorism, cases we've unfortunately become familiar with. The Metropolitan Police's Counter-Terrorism Command, headed by Commander Dominic Murphy, has acknowledged public concern while maintaining operational security. Murphy stated, "This is a fast-moving investigation. We are exploring various lines of inquiry to establish any potential motivation, as well as to identify whether there may be any further risk to the public. We understand the public may be concerned, and as always, I would ask them to remain vigilant, and if they see or hear anything that concerns them, then to contact us." Reading between the lines, there's something unsettling about Murphy's language. The reference to potential motivation and further risk to the public suggests authorities are still determining whether additional threats exist. The 8 men currently in custody might not represent the entire network involved in this plot. So what was the target? Security officials remain tight-lipped about specifics, which itself tells us something important. When authorities withhold target information, even after successful arrests, it typically indicates either an ongoing security vulnerability they're still addressing, or a target so sensitive that revealing it might cause public panic or damage international relations. What we do know is that officials are working closely with the site believed to be targeted. This nugget of information narrows possibilities considerably. The language suggests a specific location rather than a general threat against public transportation or random civilians. A site that authorities can work with directly points toward a high-value target, perhaps government buildings, critical infrastructure, or symbolic locations with particular significance. The timing of these arrests coincides with escalating tensions between Iran and Western nations, particularly the UK. Relations between London and Tehran have deteriorated significantly in recent years. Iran's increasingly aggressive posture toward Western interests has manifested in various ways, from maritime confrontations to cyber attacks to supporting proxy groups. But direct terrorist operations on British soil would represent a dramatic escalation in this ongoing conflict. If Iranian state actors were indeed behind this plot, as the use of the National Security Act suggests, we're witnessing something beyond typical terrorism. This would represent state-sponsored terrorism, targeting British civilians or interests. A direct attack on UK sovereignty. Such actions would cross a red line that even historically, hostile states typically avoid. The involvement of primarily Iranian nationals in an advanced plot on British soil raises uncomfortable questions about the escalating shadow war between Tehran and Western powers. As investigations continue, British security services face the dual challenge of neutralising any remaining threads of this specific plot, while reinforcing defences against what may be a new phase in Iran's confrontational approach to international relations. The disrupted attack may be just one manifestation of a broader, more dangerous pattern of aggression that security services are racing to understand and counter. This plot represents something far more troubling than your typical terrorism case. Iran's apparent willingness to conduct attacks on British soil signals a dangerous shift in the threat landscape. We're not talking about lone wolves or fringe extremists. We're looking at potential state-sponsored terrorism targeting the UK directly. The security services deserve credit for preventing what could have been a devastating attack. But let's be clear, this isn't just a victory to celebrate. It's a warning shot about the evolving nature of foreign state threats. As Commander Murphy indicated, these threats require ongoing attention from both security services and a vigilant public.